Park again. In the last video I talked about 10 depressing characters in the Soul series, but today I want to focus on something a little more uplifting. 10 characters who are not depressing. And just to clarify, I won't be including any characters I mentioned in the last video, because that'd be boring. So if you're tired of all the doom and gloom of Dark Souls, then sit back, relax, and let's celebrate the characters who remind us that there's a little bit of light left in this harsh world. Let's get started with 10 characters who aren't depressing in Dark Souls. The first one up on our list of characters who aren't depressing in Dark Souls is Patches. Yes, Patches. While Patches is a conniving trickster who delights in luring unsuspecting players to their death, you need to hear me out. In the second DLC of Dark Souls 3, The Ring City, we made a character named Lap, who's a bit different from the usual Patches we know and love to hate. In fact, Lap is a genuinely nice guy who helps the player throughout the DLC. It's only later revealed that Lap is actually Patches, but he's lost his memory and has become a new person entirely. And in his form, he's surprisingly pleasant to be around. So let's take a closer look at Patches and why he deserves a spot on our list of characters who aren't depressing in Dark Souls. One of the things that makes Lap stand out from the usual Patches is his attitude towards life. Despite the harsh and unforgiving world of Dark Souls, Lap is a genuinely happy person. He enjoys exploring, meeting new people, and even taking risk. In fact, he seems to thrive in the chaos and danger that surrounds him. This is a sharp contrast to most of the characters we meet in Dark Souls, who are understandably downtrodden, anxious, or downright miserable. But Patches, or Lap, seem to find joy in even the most dire of situations. Whether he's running from dragons or getting lost in the depths of the Ring City, he always has a smile on his face. In a way, Patches represents one of the few characters in Dark Souls who's really content with his lot in life. He doesn't dwell on the past, worry about the future, or let the struggles of the present get him down. He simply lives in the moment and enjoys every minute of it. And that's a rare, admirable quality, especially in a game like Dark Souls. So while Patches may not have been the nicest person in the past, Lap proves that even the most unlikely of characters can find happiness in this brutal world, and that's why he deserves a spot on our list of characters who aren't depressing in Dark Souls. Another character who brings a much-needed ray of sunshine to Dark Souls is Siegward of Catarina. From the moment we meet him, Siegward is a jolly and good-natured knight who always has a positive outlook on life. Even in the face of overwhelming odds and impossible challenges, he never loses his spirit or his sense of humor. Of course, that's not to say Siegward's story is entirely without its tragic elements. In fact, his quest involves a number of heart-wrenching moments, including the necessary killing of his old friend Yorm the Giant and his own eventual death. But even in the face of these hardships, Siegward remains a shining example of what it means to have a good attitude in a world that's anything but. What's perhaps most remarkable about Siegward is that he never seems to be weighed down by the bleakness of his surroundings. Even in the face of despair and certain death, he continues to be a beacon of hope and positivity. He sees the beauty in the world around him, finds joy in the little things, and never lets the cruelty of others bring him down. It's this relentless and passionate spirit that makes Siegward such a beloved character among the Dark Souls community. His unwavering commitment to his principles and his unflappable optimism are a refreshing counterpart to the harsh and unforgiving nature of the game world. And while his ultimate fate may be bittersweet, it's also a testament to his unwavering dedication to his promises and his friends. All in all, Siegward of Catarina is a character who embodies the idea that even in the darkest of times, there's always room for happiness and hope. Another character who may not be the most morally upstanding, but is undeniably cheerful, is Laddersmith Gilligan. Despite his questionable business practices, Gilligan seems to take genuine joy in his work, and his sunny disposition is a refreshing change of the pace in a game filled with dark and ominous characters. While it's true that Gilligan's primary goal in life seems to be making a quick buck off the player, there's no denying that he's a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. Even in the face of danger and adversity, he always has a smile on his face and a joke at the ready. And that's a rare quality in a game where most characters are either resigned to their fate or actively seeking to harm you. Now in Dark Souls 3, we encounter Gilligan's remains in the profane capital, surrounded by a wealth of treasure and a half-finished ladders. It's a strange and somewhat comical sight, but it's also a fitting end for a character who seemed to take pleasure in his work above all else. Gilligan may not have been the most ethical person, but his enthusiasm and cheerfulness were infectious, and he's a character who's hard not to like. All in all, Laddersmith Gilligan may not have been the most honorable or virtuous character in Dark Souls, but he was undeniably happy and full of life. And in a world as bleak and unforgiving as this, that's a quality worth celebrating. Moving on to another character who managed to find happiness in Dark Souls, we come to Andre of Astora, This unassuming blacksmith has been a constant presence throughout the series, from his first appearance in Dark Souls 1 to his continued hammering away in Dark Souls 3. Despite the many trials and tribulations he's surely faced over the centuries, Andre remains a steadfast and cheerful presence in the game. What's most striking about Andre is his sense of purpose and commitment that he gives off. Unlike many of the other characters in the game, Andre seems to have found his place in life and is happy to go about his work as a blacksmith, helping his friends upgrade their weapon and armor. His cheerful demeanor and willingness to lend a hand make him one of the few truly reliable allies in a world where danger lurks around every corner. It's also worth noting that Andre's longevity and resilience are impressive in their own right. He survived for thousands of years, weathering countless wars and upheavals, and yet he remains committed to his craft and his customers. It's a testament to his strength of character and his unwavering dedication to the player. In short, Andre may not be the flashiest or most glamorous character in Dark Souls, but he's undeniably happy and fulfilled in his own way. His commitment to his work and his customers make him a true joy to encounter in the game, and his unshakable positivity is a welcome getaway from the doom and gloom of the Soul series. Now we take a look at this adorable and pleasant merchant from Dark Souls 2. We come to sweet Shalquoir. This feline merchant only appears in Dark Souls 2 and quickly establishes herself as one of the few characters in the game who seems genuinely happy and content. With her soothing voice and infectious purring, sweet Shalquoir is a welcome friend in the unrelenting world of Dark Souls. Despite the many dangers and uncertainties in the world around her, sweet Shalquoir remains upbeat and optimistic. She's always ready with a kind word or helpful items to sell, and her sly sense of humor adds a touch of happiness to the game's otherwise grim atmosphere. Perhaps what's most remarkable about her is the way she manages to maintain her positivity even in the face of adversity. As a cat, she surely had to deal with her share of hardships and dangers, yet she remains cheerful and upbeat throughout the entire game. Her presence is a testament to the power of kindness and resilience of the human or feline spirit, even in the darkest of times. In short, sweet Shalquoir is a welcome reminder that even in a game as bleak and unforgiving as Dark Souls 2, there is still room for happiness and joy. Her infectious purring and boundless optimism make her a standout character in the series, and encountering her in the game is always a delight. The Kingdom of Lordran can be a dark and ominous place that seems like death is lurking around every corner. But amid the despair and suffering, there are still a few glimmers of hope and happiness to be found. One such glimmer is a character named Priscilla, a powerful and enigmatic figure who appears in Dark Souls 1's DLC, The Painted World of Aramis. Priscilla is a creature unlike any other in the Dark Souls universe. With her snow-white fur, razor-sharp claws, and graceful wings wrapped around her body, she's truly a sight to behold. But what really sets her apart is her gentle nature and her willingness to extend compassion even to those who would harm her. Despite being prisoned in the Painted World, a realm of exile for the outcast and unwanted of the main game world, Priscilla seems content to live out her days in peace and solitude, surrounded by the few friends and allies she has managed to make. Priscilla's character is a reminder that even in the world as brutal and unforgiving as Dark Souls, there is still room for empathy and kindness. Her ability to see beyond surface-level things, to look into the hearts of others and see their true nature, is a rare gift in a game where most characters are defined by their struggles and their suffering. And while Priscilla's story may not have a conventionally happy ending, the fact that she's able to find meaning and purpose in her life, despite the odds, is inspiring. Amidst the bleak landscapes of Lordran, there are a few individuals who manage to maintain a sense of purpose and even joy in their lives. One such individual is Oswald of Carim, a mysterious figure who appears throughout the game series as sort of a pardoner for the sins of others. Oswald is a character who is shrouded in mystery, and little is known about his past or his motivations. But despite this, he exudes an air of calm and serenity that is rare in this kind of world. Whether he's offering absolution to the player for their sins, or simply watching silently from the sidelines, Oswald seems to be content to simply exist in this world, observing and taking everything in. What set Oswald apart from many characters in Dark Souls is his lack of personal investment in the game's conflicts and struggles. While other characters may be driven by revenge, desperation, or desire for power, Oswald seems to exist outside of these motivations, content to simply offer his services and go about his business. This detachment gives him a certain freedom that many other characters lack, and allows him to see the world in a different light. So, Oswald is a character who stands out as a perfect example of peace and serenity in this often erratic world. While he may not be as flashy or dynamic as some of the game's other characters, his presence is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is still room for grace and acceptance. There are very few things more terrifying than the Abyss, a churning void of darkness that threatens to consume everything in its path. And yet, amidst the darkness, there are those who stand as beacons of light and hope, guiding the player through the dangers that lie ahead. One such character is Ingward, the keeper of the seal of New Londo. He appears in Dark Souls and Dark Souls Remastered, and despite his grim surroundings and the weight of his responsibilities, Ingward is a character who exudes a quiet sense of confidence and calm. Whether he's warning the player about the dangers of the Four Kings, or providing them with means to combat the Abyss, Ingward always seems to know exactly what needs to be done, and he goes about his work with a quiet determination that is inspiring to behold. One of the most notable things about Ingward is his willingness to trust the player even in the face of overwhelming danger. While many other characters in Dark Souls are quick to betray or manipulate the player for their own ends, Ingward seems to genuinely want to help, offering them the means to combat the Abyss and even risking his own life to ensure that they succeed. It's really rare to find characters in this series who are generally happy and content with their lot in life, but one such character is the painter from Dark Souls 3's Ashes of Arendelle DNC. Nestled away in a hidden world filled with snow and ice, the painter is a soft-spoken and gentle soul who spends her days painting a new world into existence. Despite the dangers that surround her, and the fact that she is trapped in a world that is slowly dying, the painter remains steadfast in her resolve, always focused on her work and the beauty that she is creating. What's particularly striking about the painter is her unwavering optimism and her refusal to give in to despair. Despite the fact that her world is falling apart around her, and the fact that she is constantly beset by the forces of darkness, she remains committed to her vision of a new world, always striving to create something beautiful and enduring. In many ways, the painter serves as a symbol of hope and renewal in a world that is desperately in need of both. Her unwavering spirit and her unbreakable will make her an amazing character, and her presence in the Dark Souls universe is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always a glimmer of light to be found. Amidst all the darkness and despair of the series, there are a few characters who manage to maintain their sense of humor and their love in life. Two such characters are the Undead merchants in Dark Souls. Located in the depths and in the upper Undead Burg, respectively, these two merchants may be scrappy and down on their luck, but they are also some of the happiest characters in the game. With their cheeky attitudes and their loves for profit, they provide a welcome respite from the unrelenting gloom of the world around them. What's particularly remarkable about these two merchants is their ability to find joy in even the bleakest of situations. Despite the fact that they're both undead and doomed to live a cursed existence, they manage to maintain a sense of humor and a sense of purpose. Whether they're haggling with the player over the price of their wares, or simply chatting about the latest goings-on in the world of Dark Souls, they always manage to find a reason to smile. In many ways, the Undead merchants serve as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, it's always possible to find a glimmer of hope and a reason to keep going on in life. But of course, when it comes to the happiest characters in the Dark Souls series, there can really only be one winner. I'm talking, of course, about the Hollow laying on his side in New Londo. He just chills out there for the whole game and lets you do your work. So there you have it. 10 characters in Dark Souls who prove that even in the darkest of times, it's possible to find a little bit of happiness and joy. Whether it's through their witty humor, unbreakable spirit, or just their sheer determination to keep going. These characters are each a testament to the power of a human, undead, feline, or even dragon spirit. So that was 11 characters that aren't depressing in the Dark Souls series. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to let me know what you think down below. But yep, that's all I got.